Welcome to another edition of the Stranded at Second podcast, the Stranded Sports Baseball podcast. And today it's Tyler Gallo, and I'm here joined with a very special guest. It's Jack, but you don't know him as Jack. You know him as the Jolly Olive, one of the biggest up-and-coming baseball YouTubers. He makes some great content. Jack, thanks so much for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. So we'll get right into things. Obviously, the first really easy question. What made you decide to want to get into YouTube content?
It's a good question. Good one to start with, I think, too. It's interesting because I wrote a lot in my free time in college. I used to love to write plays and stuff. And when the pandemic was going on in the early goings of it, I wrote a lot, and it was quickly becoming saturated for me. Like, it wasn't fulfilling the same itch that it used to when I could do it in my free time. So I needed something else. And I had been in tune to baseball YouTube for the better part of a year at that point. I watched Foolish Baseball. I watched Stark Raving Sports. So I was like, I want to give my own hand at trying to write one of these stories. I don't necessarily know how to video edit or anything like that. So I wrote a piece on the no-hitter that was thrown by Jonathan Sanchez that came 2 weeks before Mark Burley's famous perfect game. And I called it the Forgotten No-Hitter. And I sent it to the Stark Raving Sports guys. I sent it around. I said, hey, if anybody's interested in using this, I'd like to write for you guys, all that. Didn't really get much interest there because they weren't really looking for writers. No one really is because they usually write their own stuff. So I decided to just take it upon myself, start making videos, do the best I could with iMovie. And we're about 9 months in now, and I'd say I made a pretty good decision. So
Right, yeah. And you obviously are now graduated to Adobe Premiere Pro, which is worlds better than iMovie.
Oh my God. Yeah, definitely worth getting that frustrated 2 weeks in on the learning curve, because now I can understand it a little bit better. And it's so freeing. It's so much better.
It's like night and day. It's crazy.
Good way of putting it.
So I think it's a pretty easy answer here, but how did you pick the name Jolly Olive?
It's a weird. I've talked about this before in other conversations. My first video was done for like a week, and I couldn't post it because I had no idea what I wanted to name my channel or anything like that. And I was like, I don't know, maybe it'll do well, and maybe whatever I pick will just have to stick if it does well. Obviously, it didn't do numbers, but the name Jolly Olive comes from a nickname I had in middle school that I just really liked because I always had Jacko, Jolliver, whatever, all those things. But I really always liked Jolly Olive because it was like a full play on my name. And I knew I wanted the theme to be like green because I knew none of the channels had taken up that color yet. So I was like, okay, olives are green. I can make this work. If it's bad, I'll change it. And then within, the first 4 months, we were at like 5K. And I was like, all right, well, I can't change it. So it sticks. But I like it. It's not bad. I like being called Jolly.
Right. Yeah, it's sticky. And we actually have a member of our podcast whose name is also Jack O, so it's kind of funny.
Oh, there you go.
He's Jack O'Brien.
Okay. Good name.
He's a legend.
Strong name.
But so you mentioned obviously iMovie and then now moving on to Adobe Premiere. How long does it usually take you to both draft a video and then actually put it to form?
It's a good question. A lot of video makers have their own different processes to how they do videos. A lot of my ideas really just come from me browsing the internet, browsing Fangraphs, browsing Twitter, those all apply. And I never start to craft a video until it's fully written. I very, very rarely try and do like a no script kind of thing, because I find oftentimes when I do no script and I just start putting it together because I'm excited about it, it doesn't hit a certain minute threshold, or it doesn't fulfill the things I want it to fulfill. So if anyone's listening and is interested in that sort of wisdom, I highly recommend always writing out your pieces first. It serves as sort of like a roadmap for everything you need to do. And my big issue early on was that I used to always dive right into collecting media and making graphics before I wrote anything. And I feel like that hurt the videos in the long run. So I think of it as like savoring that process of it. Because, if you're making videos on YouTube, you have to love the process of putting together the video itself, So I think of that as like I save the best part for last, essentially, or the middle, if you will. So it's always writing first, then compiling, then recording.
Yeah, definitely writing has. I mean, I'm a writer. That, and that has how when we made our one game careers videos, that was what we sort of did. We just went off of that as a script. So it definitely does take a little bit easier, take a little bit of the load off per se.
Yeah, definitely.
On that. So and then having that writing skill probably helps as well. from college. So, and then so you've made a world of just amazing, both niche and just videos that people wanted to see. I've suggested a few and you've made them, so I'm pretty happy about that. But what do you think your favorite one is out of all the ones you've made so far?
So yeah, no, this is honestly a tough question because you put a lot of work into each one, and like you want all of them to do well. They obviously don't all do well. In terms of the ones that are like really popular, I think my favorite is the Trent Grisham one, just because my top two right now are the Ronald Acuna Marlins video and then the Jacob deGrom video, but I made those very early on. I feel like I can outdo them out the wazoo nowadays, so I don't love going back on them. I think the Trent Grisham one was the first one that I really thought like, hey, I did a cool thing here. I got to use my favorite original soundtrack from a movie, which was Social Network. Obviously, it got CC'd, but that was back when I wasn't making money, so it made sense. In terms of the ones that not a lot of people like to watch, or I guess just didn't do as particularly well, I really liked the Kirk Neuenhuis video of 4 home runs in 2015 because somebody suggested the idea. I forgot who, someone that we both know in that group, but he suggested it to me. I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that any of these happened, and like the last one being the most important because he hit it in that Nationals game. And I was like, all right, let's just make a Kirk Neuenhuis video. Let's see how it does. Got like 10,000 views, so I can't complain. So that I just think the concept of a Mets bench player and journeyman outfielder getting a video and it doing well was really cool to me. I was like, okay, I can do a video on anything as long as I can make it interesting.
That's awesome, and yeah, it's certainly one. I mean, we all love those guys on the Mets that maybe didn't play so well, but they were there. Like
I had their role.
Right. I have mine. I have an article in the works on Chris Capuano.
That's a good one.
He threw a 96 game score game back in 2011.
I remember you sent me a message about that. I was like, that can't be true. There's no way.
I
remember the John Neese one hitter you mentioned, but not that.
Right. And you go through the history, you're like, okay, Tom Seaver struck out 10. Chris Capuano threw a complete game shutout with 13 strikeouts. Like,
what a beast.
And then
Brewers legend, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Brewers legend. Absolutely.
There you go.
So it's those videos. I mean, we both appreciate those guys. I mean, I suggested Clay Meredith go in and
he's in there. He made it into one of them.
Right. So, but you often, post comments like the silly ones and then the ones that maybe are a little bit more negative. How in this day and age of social media, I mean, it's different for everybody, but how do you deal with the negative comments?
Yeah, it's a new thing for me because when I was in like my first 5K, everyone was like super supportive, and half the comments are like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm here before you hit 100K." Blah blah blah. Very supportive, very endearing things. Now that I'm a little bit bigger, you get a larger pool of people in there, but a lot of people that don't know me or just watching their first video that day or whatever. And it's actually a timely question because I just did like a tier list video because I thought it would be fun, low effort kind of thing where I could just generate some discussion. And I rated Brandon Crawford kind of low. It was like a shortstop tier list, and Giants fans wolved me because I just made their video on how the rotation was so good. So I got a bunch of Giants fans on the channel, then I immediately dissed their shortstop, so that wasn't good. You just you got to remember that, like, I'm not a baseball genius, and those who treat me as such because I have a platform are misinformed. So I don't take it too kindly to heart because I don't take my opinions as like the holy grail. They're just my takes. I'm doing the same thing that I have been doing my entire life, except I'm putting it into video format. So when I get those comments, it's the way I like to think of it is thank you for leaving a comment. You improved the discussions, and maybe it'll get noticed by somebody else now. So thank you.
Right. My favorite ones are the ones where they just do a play on your name. Where it's
I mean, they're harmless and they're great. That's why I kind of like the name,
Right, yeah. And then the one tweet where it was like the crushed olive, the bar, that was just hilarious.
Yeah. And I like posting them too. It's just,
right.
I like to showcase those guys too.
Yeah, it's all in good fun. So you meant obviously the negative comments are challenging, but what do you think besides that is the most challenging thing about making content?
Oh, that's a good question too. I think it's two things. I think I need to pace myself with my ideas a little bit more because I compiled this. When I got my first 1,000, I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to keep doing this, see how it goes. And I compiled a huge list of like all the ideas that I thought of, I could find that people suggested to me. And I had a huge list and I think I went through it in like 3 months. It was already gone. So it's generating good ideas that aren't only interesting to you, but interesting to other people and can also be taken to a longer stretch for a video. Because, there are plenty of interesting things I'd love to talk about that would make for like maybe 2 to 3 minute videos. And obviously on YouTube, I won't get the job done. It's that. And then it's also just a little bit of staying motivated, especially when you hit a rough stretch. YouTube has this fun thing on Creator Studio where they show you how your video performs among the last 10. If it performs badly, you get little gray down arrows. If it does well, you get green up arrows. And when you see those gray down arrows like 5, 6, 7 uploads in a row, it's like, oh, okay. Because you're putting the same amount of effort into all of them. And, sometimes they just, don't hit the right algorithm. Sometimes they don't, yield the same audience. So I think it's staying motivated and pacing your ideas are the two biggest things for me. But I think I found a happy medium with that in recent times.
It's definitely good to have a happy medium. But yeah, thanks YouTube for disheartening some people.
Yeah, but when you get the green, man, it's that serotonin rush right there.
It's like a perfect swing in MLB The Show or just a green shot in 2K. It's just like so nice. So one funny thing that happened on Twitter and other things is people say you look like Omar Narvaez. Now, where did that start, and what are your current thoughts on that?
You know the lore. Good for you. So it's satire. By me and the guy that originally commented, which I think is really funny. The guy that commented it is a guy that frequents all my streams, so I know him very well. Shout out Savage Gamer 34. He's in like every time. He's the one that commented, I think, on like 3 consecutive videos in like a 3-minute span. Does anybody else think that Jolly looks like Omar Narvaez? It obviously didn't get traction because I don't look like him. But I decided that would be one of the more fun comments to post, and then it became like my first meme, which I thought was really cool because I never thought I'd have a meme, which was awesome. People love to do like player lookalikes for me. The most recent one was from Stark Raving Sports, Matt, and he said I look like Joey Lucchese. That I think is a little bit more accurate. Yeah. It's just the mustache goatee combo, not connected or anything. So that was just like a fun meme. I'm really glad that the community took to it, and they still call me Omar to this day, like 4 months later. So that's pretty dope.
I know. I remember when it was first coming out, and like when MLB would post a highlight of Omar Narvaez or something. Like, are you posting Jolly Olive?
The big one is when that home run account that posts for every home run. Whenever there's an Omar home run, and they're not too frequent, but I'll always get tagged under them. It's great. I love it. It's like my favorite part of Twitter.
That is great. So another player, obscure player in history, but Pirates fans will love him, is Freddie Sanchez. And he actually sent you a signed ball. I actually suggested that video to you.
Yeah, you did. That was one of the first ones you suggested, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that and the Willie Taveras one. But how did it feel to get, just seen by a player, maybe fans won't remember, but like the guys that were like there to watch him hit.
Right.
And then making that video, obviously, how did it feel to just get that sort
of? Well, that was so awesome. And I don't have the signed balls he sent with me because I moved them back home. But basically, like that it was unreal because I know a lot of bigger YouTubers, much bigger platforms than me, that have never had that kind of interaction. And Freddie Sanchez, I've always had a soft spot for him because when I was growing up, I used to play MLB Power Pros all the time. I love using his player because he had all rank Bs, so he was good at everything. And he played second base. That was my position when I was growing up. And the dude has a ring. He made the All-Star team. So he's like, he had a really nice career. It was cut short by injury, unfortunately. But that was when the Forgotten series that I had going was taken off pretty well. I did the one on Alfonso Soriano and then Willie Taveras, like you said before. And then he came up next. And it was his son's friend on his baseball team, I think, that had seen the video, told the son told the mom told Freddie, and then they both emailed me and they're like, hey, we should correspond. We want to send you something. So I thought that was really awesome. It was just like, that's probably going to be my favorite experience from doing Jolly Olive, like 2 years down the line. So those are going front and center in my bedroom as soon as I get home.
Yeah, I know the 2 guys that I normally do this podcast with are 2 big Pirates fans. They'll remember Freddie Sanchez pretty fun.
Oh, man, I love Freddie. Jason Bay, that team was bad, but they were good.
Yeah, and Jose Bautista before he was
bum Jose Bautista. Nate McLeod was there. Zach Duke was seeing some innings.
They never really put it together.
Yeah, that's kind of how the Pirates go.
So another one recently, though, that I've looked really hard for, we've all looked really hard for, everyone that was involved in it looked really hard for, is the John Main video that we all really, really want to come out. I want to know where we're currently standing on that front, because I haven't been pretty active lately, but I just wanted to see, where we're currently sitting, because we found a couple, but not enough.
We scrounged together a few clips, but I think I had like one reply on the tweet that was like, hey, I think I have like a VHS of the 07 season. Haven't heard from that guy since. So I actually talked to a buddy of mine, another creator, and he basically was like, even if the idea is good enough, you don't necessarily need all that footage to put it together. If the idea is strong enough and the story is there, then you can put it together. So I'm currently working on it. I'm using my new Adobe skills to kind of create interesting graphics to tell the story without necessarily having the footage. We have like a few clips of a few strikeouts. They're very quick. They're very grainy, very chopped. So I don't even know if I'm going to use them. But it's a story worth telling just because I think it's another one of these things that fits into my whole forgotten thing style, except it's not like a player or an accolade. It's just a single game, which I think is really interesting. For those who don't know the story, the Mets choked in 2007, had like a 7-game lead on their division with 17 to go. They had a horrible losing streak, but in the second to last game of the season, John Maine, who had one full season with the Mets, every other one, he was basically injured for half of it. He goes out there, he throws 7 2/3 perfect innings, 14 strikeouts, basically gives everything he can, leaves it all out there. They win 13-0. They're feeling good. They're riding high. They're going to win the division. Then they go out the next day and Tom Glavine blows the game. They lose the division. Phillies go to the playoffs. So nobody remembers the John Maine game because it ended up not mattering. So I think that itself would just be a cool story to tell. So even without footage, it will come. When it comes, I'm not totally sure, but soon. I'd say within the month.
Yeah, and it always seems like, as soon as you put it out, that game is going to come out of nowhere. And
I hope so. I mean, if that's the sacrifice I have to make, then okay, I'll do it.
But yeah, and to draw in a little bit more on that, I think he had a 92-game score in that game. People have said that the Marlins were hungover in that game.
I also read that. That'll be included. Don't worry.
Paul Hoover, who literally played like 12 games in MLB, broke up the no-hitter with like a swinging bunt.
Little dribbler, I think.
It's always those guys, I feel like, that break up the no-hitters for the Mets.
The John Neese no-hitter, I think, was Chris Denorfia, if I remember correctly.
Let me think. Tom Glavine, it's on YouTube. Tom Glavine took a perfect game into like the 8th inning, and it was this guy, Kit Pello, broke it up for the Rockies.
Can't even say I'm familiar. I like to think of myself as a baseball mind. I've never heard that name in my life.
Yeah, and then the other one, when DeGrom had that one hitter against the Phillies a couple of years ago, Zach Eflin had the only hit.
That I remember, yeah.
Like, it's just wild. We're going to – I'll be excited to see that video. I always love that era of Mets baseball. There's also a brawl in that game. I hope –
Yep, that's like the only footage that's available, actually. It's really just the brawl.
I think my favorite Ron Darling quote is in that. He's like, he's trying to hit him. He just doesn't know how, or he's just not good enough.
He's just not good enough to, yeah. That's the exact thing.
And then Keith Hernandez responds with, he's wild as a March hare. Just a great, 30
It's very summative of their personalities.
Right. A couple of big things have happened to you recently over the last month. You joined Stark Raving Sports, obviously, who, we know Mike. Mike's cool, and obviously you mentioned Matt.
Yep.
And then, Newsbreak as well. So how does it feel to sort of just get your content out to a bigger platform than just on YouTube? And then, Stark Raving Sports is huge, and then Newsbreak obviously is as big as they come. So
yeah. I mean, it's cool to have people that really buy into what you do and fully endorse it and get behind it. Mike wanted me on SRS in like February, and I was like, I have to finish college and take care of my own channel. But once I'm done, let's do it. Let's put together a video. First video did really well. I think it got like 80,000 views as of right now. So I think it was really cool that he was so eager to add me to the team when they hadn't added anybody since Storm, and that was it. So I thought that was really encouraging. The Newsbreak thing is awesome because I think that they view me in more of a journalistic sense in terms of bringing people news, which I thought was awesome because I feel like they believe in more the personality and not only just what I do content-wise. And I think that's a big part of anyone who's trying to expand their channel or even create their channel right now. You have to market yourself as much as you market your content if you really want to, experience that longevity. And obviously, I haven't had that longevity yet. I'm only at like 9 months, but I want to be in it for the long haul. So I think getting people to buy into me as much as they do the stuff that I produce is really important. And I'm glad that I'm already seeing early signs of it. So hopefully it picks up even further from here on.
Right, absolutely. Just a big step in the right direction, especially with that. Mike will always send me people he wants to see on Mets Home Run. So, and I'm glad he was able to get that.
He's a fiend.
Oh, yeah. I've taken some of his suggestions to heart, but I've got a strict list I got to follow, man.
Do you have a favorite or no?
My favorite home run that I've ever posted? I
think I know.
The one that I always commented on your streams was Arrhenius Reyes.
Yes, I was wondering what his name was. I forget. I think he might say like Ruben Gauthier or something.
Yeah, well, I haven't found any of his. Those are the guys that I'm trying to get. There's one guy, Michael Tucker. I was at his only home run game, and it was in RFK Stadium, which those clips are like –
yeah, those are hard to find. When I did the 40-40 video, that was Alfonso Soriano as a national at RFK. It was like impossible to find anything.
Right. And that's I always hold that stadium in my heart because that was the first game I ever went to, which I didn't know about until this year. And like, there's a couple of ones like I pulled one off of a CD that I had just buried in my house somewhere. My first game at Shea Stadium, and it was Carlos Delgado.
Yeah. Oh, nice. The one that I'm glad you found was, I think, Corey Sullivan, because that was my first season as a Mets fan. Everyone got injured, very reminiscent of what's going on right now with the Mets.
Yeah, we'll talk about
and
that.
He was one of those filling outfielders, him and Jeremy Reed. So I was like, those are like some of my first baseball players, and I still remember them, even though, they're mostly irrelevant.
Right. I think he homered in back-to-back games in September, and then didn't homer again the entire year. But yeah, it's those guys that only have like one. Like, those are my favorite ones. I'm still trying to find like Kaz Matsui ones, there's so many. David Newhand.
Bunch of great names there.
Bunch of great names in Mets history that have been long forgotten. So, you mentioned the John Maine video and other things you have in the works, but what are your future plans? Do you have any new series that you can come out with, or, future plans for content as well? I know that Grady Sizemore video on Stargraving Sports is pretty great, but
yeah. I think that I'm this summer I'm going to take a bigger leap into more conceptual things in baseball rather than just player-based and team-based, because I feel like that's the next step up. And I feel like there's more that I can do, obviously, with new software and stuff. The big thing that I wanted to – there's a couple ideas that I had. One of them was actually a video on if getting ejected is even worth it. I listened to a couple of podcasts that actually discussed like how managers lose pay, and then also they obviously can't manage the game anymore. And I wanted to cite like specific instances where managers would like come back out and sneak back onto the field. So I think analyzing the game itself rather than just its players would probably be the next step. Although I really appreciate the fans that have been so endeared by me just talking about random players from history. And I plan to do that forever, because that's the kind of stuff that just rattles in my brain all day.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I want to take a step towards the more conceptual. In terms of another series, nothing in the works right now, nothing ironclad. But I think definitely more looking at the game in a larger scope. If that makes sense.
Right, yeah, analytical pieces, especially like in article form, like taking a quote and building it into this big thing, or sort of the way of the future, as we've seen in journalism over the last couple of years. We'll move on into the MLB talk now. There's been a lot of interesting things to happen, and I want to get your takes on them because you've tweeted out a couple of things about it. But first off, obviously, both Mets fans, got to start with the Mets. Everybody and their mother is injured right now. But current thoughts, the team's somehow in first place. And then, standout player, sleeper player, and then who do you think the most disappointing player has been this year?
Okay, good. Okay, so we have, I think, 14 to 26 guys injured right now that we had on the opening day lineup, which is, oof. I said reminiscent of 2009. We might be getting even worse than 2009 at this point. I understand a couple of them are precautionary, and some of them we don't even really know the details, but man, 14 it's a bad number.
No one knows Luis Guillorme.
Yeah, I don't even know what's happening with Luis Guillorme. I don't even remember. But you said breakout, standout, and then disappointment?
Yeah. Sleeper, standout, and disappointment.
Sleeper, standout, disappointment. Okay, standout has to be I have two, but it's kind of cheating. I'll do standout for Taijuan Walker, but sadly he just went to the injured list. Nobody wanted this guy. He couldn't find a home. He couldn't find anyone to match his asking price. The Mets finally bit when they learned that Carrasco was going to be a little bit longer injured than they expected. And it turned out to be like maybe the most important signing they had this offseason, of course, outside of Francisco Lindor. But he's just been a godsend, and I'm really sad that he's going to the injured list. He looks like he's, really tapping into his former self before he got all those Tommy John surgeries and he had shoulder surgery and stuff like that. So he really looks back to form. I'm hoping that this IL stint is like the 10-day limit, and then he's back on the field, because I really have enjoyed watching him pitch. The sleeper has to be Sean Reed-Foley. Sean Reed-Foley very quietly was dealt to us in the Steven Matz deal, where I fully agree. I wanted Steven Matz to get out of town, get a fresh start, and hopefully that works out for him long term. Sean Reed-Foley's been – oh, yeah, exactly. There you go. But I jinxed him a little bit. So. A little bit. But Sean Reed-Foley, I mean, I really love how the Mets are embracing bullpen games, because our bullpen's built for it, and it's really showing so far. So they're embracing a very modern mentality with the way they're managing around this rotation epidemic of injuries. So Sean Reed-Foley, eating 3 innings every time he goes out has been awesome. And then disappointing, there's a couple. I mean, the easy one is Francisco Lindor, but the one I'm going to go with, because it's the one that's a little bit – I fully expected Lindor to get to a slow start. Maybe not this slow, but slow. The one that has disappointed me the most has been Dom Smith. Dom Smith does not look like the same hitter from the 2020 season. I think that, I'm seeing a lot of like one-handed swings from him. He's not really hitting breaking pitches all that well anymore. He's still hitting lefties, which is very much confusing to me. But so far, it's really just been singles and walks and strikeouts, and that's very much not Dom. Dom's whole thing was Dom could slug really well. He could hit to opposite fields. He hit for doubles. He was a very exciting player, obviously very likable. The one thing that I will say about Dom is that Dom has, I think, 3 outs above average, which is like really good among left fielders right now. So his range is getting a lot better out there. So I think he'll be well equipped to probably play left the entire year, which is awesome. Because obviously I wanted the DH for Dom, but it's been disappointing to watch. I'm hoping he can catch fire a little bit, start pushing the ball over the fence a little bit more.
And I think we've seen this actually happen before with Dom. I want to say it was like the year after he came up, where like he came up and was just swinging for nothing but power. And then he comes out and then just doesn't hit for power at all.
Right. And I really thought, because I don't know if you know, I'm sure you're familiar, but the sleep apnea thing was figured out in 2019. He got injured, of course, and missed the last half of the season. But I thought after 2020, when he started really slugging the ball, I was like, okay, this dude's fixed. He's good to go. He's going to be great for the long haul. But I'm hoping it's just a slow start, but I really don't know. I don't know.
And obviously, Taijuan Walker's and Sean Reed-Foley have just been just great to watch. I mean, Taijuan. Yeah. It's always the guys that just come out of it's just a surprise to me that some guys go unsigned for that long.
Yeah, it really is. It was a little bit more acceptable in last offseason just because we knew teams weren't willing to pay that much. So the Mets swung some creative deals to get Sean Reed-Foley. But I think the paying Taijuan Walker, he's been worth every penny. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, definitely a return on investment there. So you mentioned Corey Sullivan and Jeremy Reed. So I know we're both obscure player guys, but I got to know who your favorite obscure player is in Mets history and then in baseball history as well.
Good question. I think I've had a different answer to this every time I've been asked because I just can't remember the ones that I've picked. Okay. Well, I really love Jordany Valdespin just because he was such a meme when he came up. It was such a strange human being, and I really loved Gary's call of his first hit, which was a home run in Philadelphia. Because Gary's voice gets like all deep and raspy. I was like, oh, I'm hyped, even though the season's like over. It doesn't matter. But he's definitely an interesting one, interesting character. In terms of all MLB, the most obscure player that sticks out to me, I would say Freddie Sanchez, but I don't really know if you can call him obscure. He was an all-star and a World Series champion, so I don't think that fulfills the bill. Obscure
all-star maybe, but the player.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like random player. You can't say Jeff Mathis anymore because Foolish made it cool, so now you can't say it. Unfortunate, because that would have been my answer, I think. I'm going to go with – this is a tough one. I want to pick something good. I really like – no, he was an all-star too, Jason Mott, because he just threw fastballs. Yeah. I thought that was so interesting. I'll go with Jeremy Bonderman because I know we talked about him like 2 weeks ago. I think
yeah, we were talking about Nate Cornejo, who had like a 2.1 strikeout rate.
Yep.
One of my favorite obscure players.
Yeah.
Obviously, I got to go with Norris Hopper. I mean,
Oh, yeah, of course. Norris Hopper, yeah, of course.
I wrote an article about him. Reds fans loved it. So, but the Mets one.
Wait. You said Reds fans. I'm forgetting his name.
I think I know who it is. Is it the guy from like 2000s?
He was like the stout catcher with the crazy facial hair.
Was it not Jason LaRue, was it? No,
not Jason LaRue. Oh, what is his name? Oh my God, this is gonna bug me. Okay, we'll keep going, but I need to. I'm gonna look.
DT Cromer.
No, but shout out DT Cromer. He made it into a video. That's crazy.
But yeah, and for Mets, I mean, there's been so many. David Newhan obviously is one of my favorite. I think I'm gonna go on the pitcher side. So I'm gonna do 3. Not really obscure. One of them's not really obscure, but I have a signed hat with all 3 of these guys on it.
Corky Miller.
Corky Miller, yes.
Corky Miller.
He was like Jeff Mathis. He couldn't hit, but he was going to
couldn't hit a lick, but he was great for the pitching crew.
Right. So the 3 guys that are on my hat are Brian Stokes.
Okay, good one.
Nelson Figueroa.
That's a good one.
And Bobby Parnell, who was actually pretty good.
I love Bobby Parnell. I mean, that one makes me sad more than anything because I feel like the Mets just ruined him. But
yeah, because I think what was it? They started him as a pitcher or starter, and then
he was really thriving as a reliever. Then they made him a starter. Then they moved him to a closer. Then they made him a long reliever, and then he started having elbow problems. I think he was overused and misused, both.
trying to remember what game it was. It was some MLB 9 innings or whatever the heck that game was, but he like had a power pitcher card and it was like 102 miles an hour. And
Dude
then
could
like
throw.
in MLB 2K13, he has like 102 miles an hour on his fastball. It's
Yeah,
crazy. But yeah, those are my guys. So
good picks.
now one thing that you've had a pretty strong stance on over the last last 24 hours really is the Tony La Russa situation.
Yeah.
And we talk about that. We will talk about that later in this episode with Ethan and Nick. But just what are your current thoughts? Because I mean, it's just bad. I just think it's bad.
Yeah.
That's all you can really say.
Yeah, it's just like the tweet I sent the night before was, I wonder if La Russa is going to throw Yermin under the bus like Tingler did to Tatis. Most people had forgotten that Jace Tingler, who was, it was a little bit more understandable because Tingler had worked with the Rangers his whole coaching career and then finally got his gig with the Padres. And like the first newsworthy thing that happened to him was Tatis, breaking an unwritten rule against the Rangers. So I understood that. I still don't think he should have threw him under the bus, but yada, yada, yada. Padres had a great season. Doesn't matter. The fact that it's coming up again, basically, if the 2020 season had started in April, it would be around the same exact point in the season, like a year removed. The exact same situation is coming up again. It's tiresome because I feel like it's good for baseball because we get into the news, whatever, fine. But I hate that this is the way that we get into the news, mainstream medium, every time. And I'm glad that, Sports Center talked about like Shohei today. Cool. They weren't talking about the unwritten rules. But it's tired. I mean, everyone knew that La Russa was a very questionable hire when he got picked. I know that Reinsdorf had wanted La Russa years ago and now finally could get him. But there were just so many better options out there. And
Right.
it's really starting to show. The fact that he's already lost his clubhouse practically. I know that Giolito said today after the start that they're going to move past it. And that's what they have to do if they want to keep winning games and, maintain their chemistry. But bad omen, I'll say. I don't think a team that doesn't fall behind their leader can win a World Series. I don't really think they're capable. I can't think of any off the top of my head that fit that bill. So managers need to, first and foremost, maintain a good, healthy relationship with their players. Yermin is a 10-year minor leaguer who finally made the show and is absolutely carrying your lineup right now, doing everything at the plate. And the fact that you chose that guy to throw under the bus and send as a message to the other team, hey, we're supporting you. We want you to serve the punishment. I mean, I don't think you can draw it up any worse than this situation. I don't think so.
Just a PR nightmare. And I mean, I talk about it later, but like you said, I mean, this guy's been fighting for arbitration, fighting all this stuff, and now he's finally, getting a chance to shine, and then his manager just builds him down. And I don't know who said it. Someone on Twitter said things like this set the game back like 40 years every time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the arbitration thing is like one of the most important things. Yermin's trying to get paid. He's in the bigs for the first time. Let him get paid. And those numbers count.
Right.
The same thing applied to Yarbrough on the Rays because the Rays wouldn't let him start games. And because he didn't start as many games, he wasn't labeled as a starter. He was labeled as a reliever, and he got paid less in arbitration. These things matter. Even if they don't seem consequential at the time, it's an 11-run lead in the ninth inning. If Yermin finishes the year with 29 home runs and not 30, that's going to make a difference. So it's an important point to bring up.
Yeah, it really is. And it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds over the remainder of the season. Yeah. Another interesting situation, one that's not as bad, Pujols to the Dodgers. Pretty interesting. If there was going to be an NL team, it was going to be the Cardinals. I was thinking the Royals were going to be a good fit because it was close to St. Louis. But first off, what are you thinking about this? And then, because we said it was a weird fit, but it fits kind of nicely. And then, where do you think he should have been, or where were you thinking he was going to end up?
That's a good question. Pujols, I don't hate it. I think it's kind of a cool storyline that he went from LA to LA, even though the Angels are really in Anaheim. They're not in LA.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that a team picked him up and we still get to watch him play. But I really thought that one, he'd go to an American League team where he could DH, and two, he'd go to a bad American League team where he could play every day safely throughout the rest of the year. Because, Pujols will put seats in the stands regardless of how poor he's playing because he's on that 700 chase. So from a marketing standpoint, I get it for the Dodgers because they're all about that. But when, position players come back for them, I don't know how Pujols fits in. I guess he's a bench bat. But I don't hate it. The alternative was him sitting in free agency and then quietly retiring like that, which I don't think would have been a happy ending for anyone. So not upset about it. It's just definitely weird seeing him in a blue uniform because he's played in red his entire career.
And it's going to be cool when the Dodgers inevitably go to St. Louis. I don't know if they've already been there yet.
I don't think they have.
Yeah. So, and if they do, and he's there, it's going to be good for the Cardinals and good for the Dodgers as fans, start to file into the stadiums a little bit more.
I agree.
And you mentioned obviously position players are injured for the Dodgers, and there are injuries all over baseball.
Yep.
I think it's like 400 plus guys on the IL right now. It's crazy. Why do you think this is happening? I mean, the answer is it can go like one of two ways maybe, but like, why do you think this is happening?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, and I forget the exact numbers that I saw, but it's something like the injuries at this point of the season compared to 2019 at this point in the season is like times 2.5. It's very alarming. So it has to do with a couple of things. One, baseball is an interval sport, and I think that their bodies are used to going out there, getting their off season, and then coming back in spring training and doing things right on schedule. Two, I think that a lot of guys are going out there with maximum effort, which is what you like to see because they got fans back in the stands. You're feeling inspired. You're feeling a little bit more intensity, a little bit more meaning to these games. And obviously in April, everybody's in it. So you want to play 100% every day. And I think that probably is a contributing factor to it. I think we're starting to see a lot more pitchers go down now. I think that the whole extended time off is catching up to their arms a little bit. So I'm hoping that, it's not going to become a season long epidemic. But all these factors are contributing to the same thing, which is that, player conditioning, even if it's good right now, it might not get the job done. It's a little bit scary, but it's also kind of fun because we get to see younger guys get a shot at the majors. That can be good in some cases, and it can be bad in some cases, like Khalil Lee, who I think was a little not ready for the show yesterday, 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
Hey man, he's from Delaware, though, so I always have him in a special place in my heart because that's where
he's going to be good. I don't think he's ready.
He's not ready. He's 21. I mean, Janesh Fargas, on the other hand,
our guy. He's
awesome, dude.
Great name.
Spring training legend. He had a cycle in spring training. But, we're seeing a lot of soft tissue injuries, which is the most alarming thing. It's a lot of tightness. It's a lot of hamstring pulls. We've seen with the Mets starting staff. But, I think another thing you can say is 60 to 162, same thing. Sort of just multiplying that season by, 3 almost, and then trying to go in and ramp it up. But, another thing we've seen an increase in is no hitters. I mean, Spencer Turnbull threw one last night. It's all over.
Was that 5 already? I think.
Yeah, 5 at this point.
You include bum, yeah.
And it's 19. It's since 1917. That's the most.
So just preserve the perfect game. That's
right. Yeah, perfect game. We're still waiting on that next one. May never happen. Mark Burley, perfect game legend.
Yep, there you go.
Dallas Braden, all those guys.
Dallas Braden. Yeah, no slack to Spencer Turnbull, but I'm hoping the next perfect game is by a guy.
Yeah, right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, obviously, we'll roll into the end a little bit here. I know you're going to plug your YouTube channel, so you can do that now. But if you have anything else to plug, you may as well do it right now.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if you enjoyed this podcast interview, whatever, my name is Jack. I go by Jolly Olive on YouTube. You can find me under that name on YouTube, obviously. I'll be streaming on Twitch a little bit more. Pretty much any baseball-related game you can think of. Mario Baseball is, I think, first on the slate. That'll be starting in a couple weeks.
Power Pro.
Yeah, there you go. Power Pros will be there. Don't you worry. And MLB The Show, obviously, too. I'm Jolly_Olive on Twitter. I'm very annoying on there, especially when the Mets games are going on. That's pretty much all I got to plug in terms of pals. Make sure you go follow Mets Home Run a Day on Twitter. They got some good stuff over there. Don't know who runs it, but he's definitely probably handsome. It's got to be it. I think just, support your local baseball content creator. There's a million free ways to support us. Watch the whole video, watch the ads, as painful as they are, because at the end of the day, we all love the same thing, and we're just trying to give you a little bit extra slices of that.
Right. All right. Well, Jack, once again, thank you for sitting down with me today. This has been the Stranded Second podcast. Once again, subscribe to him on YouTube, and then also stay tuned for the rest of this video for more baseball talk from the guy you've just seen for the last 30 minutes, which is me, and then 2 other guys that you did not see here tonight. Once again, Jack, thanks again for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right. We just want to thank Jolly Olive again for coming on Stranded at Second. If you want to follow him anywhere, he is Jolly_Olive on Twitter. And, of course, his YouTube is Jolly Olive. He makes some great baseball content, and some of my favorite videos are on there. So make sure you subscribe to him and look at all his content. But now we have the baseball talk, and we're here today with Ethan Morrison and Nick Hederick here to talk about some of the latest happenings in baseball. Guys, how are we doing today?
It's a great day to crap on Tony La Russa. What can I say, Tyler?
Yes, it is.
Let's go.
What an
I have
we have
never
for you.
liked Tony La Russa. Ever since he was on the Cardinals, I've always hated this guy. And he's gotten worse and worse as the years gone along. I'm actually not surprised, but yeah. All right, Ethan, I want to start with your Taco Bell take on this one right here. We're not sponsored by that. I just said that because I think that's a devil's thing.
Um, uh, Nicholas, get the bleep button out, because things are about to get nasty. Oh, Tony, where do I begin with you? DUI Tony. All right. So what was it? A couple weeks ago, he the runner at second in extra innings, he let Liam Hendricks run the bases when he didn't get the rule. I mean, I don't know why anyone else on that coaching staff didn't pick up on that. You don't have to have the pitcher run in extra innings. So that was just one little small thing for Tony right there. Another thing happened 2 nights ago, and then leading into last night on Monday, and then going into Tuesday. You're meeting Mercedes. Where have we heard that name before? He had a great start to the season, kind of fell off a little bit in the month of May, and now he's starting to pick it up again. White Sox were up, 11 runs or something like that. Hits it out. You guys, if you follow baseball, you know what happens. He hits a home run on a 3-0 pitch. They were up 11. And Tony wasn't too happy. He says oh yeah, there's gonna be consequences within our family and da 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 da. And then the night after, he gets thrown behind his back. Good old Tony doesn't even stand up for the guy. Doesn't even come out and start yelling at the umpire. He just lets Yermin just take first base. Tony, what the hell are you doing? First off, this reminds me of Fernando Tatis Jr., that situation last year where he hit a grand slam on a 3-0 pitch up 11. First, number one, look, he says he'll never do it again. Look, you're up 11 runs. First off, Twins, don't give up 11 runs. You've looked like dog shit this whole entire year. Two, another thing is, it was a position player pitching. I don't think Buddy's feelings would be hurt if Yermin Mercedes hit a 3-0 pitch up 11, and you're a position player pitching. So, look, you're paid to hit the damn ball. You're going to be paid to hit the damn ball. Hit the ball. This isn't freaking Little League anymore. Hit the ball. I mean, yeah, throw at him if you want. Yeah, they retaliated the right way, throwing below the waist and hitting them that way. That's fine by me. I don't care. But for Tony to do something like this, it's just absurd.
Yeah, I agree. The fact of the matter is, this guy has been playing for arbitration deals his whole life, so absolutely he's going to want to pad his stats whenever he can. He finally got the chance to be respected in MLB, and now his own manager is throwing him under the bus, which is ridiculous, as Nick is rising and lowering the occasion right there. But, it's just tough to see any manager throw their own player under the bus. It's one thing if it's an opposing manager, but your team's own manager is throwing a player that has worked so hard to get to where he is today, who finally is getting the respect he deserves in the MLB, and all of a sudden, his own manager is sort of just do you think Tony La Russa lost the locker room? Nick, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I knew the hiring of La Russa was a horrible idea from the get-go. That bag of bones has no ways to grow the game or relate to any of the baseball consumer market in the year 2021. Never got the hiring from the get-go. And if I'm your mean Mercedes, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's sure as hell not busting my ass for Tony La Russa anymore. I understand there's these old rules of baseball, which in my opinion, you can change the rules all you want of baseball, but at the end of the day, the game needs to grow. It needs to stop this old school mentality. You have to let players be themselves, and we've talked about it time and time again on other shows. The game's not going to grow until you let the players be themselves, show some energy, show some intensity when they make a big play. And when they do that, it's suddenly a national crisis, and we need to call the National Guard in because suddenly everyone becomes a big whiner. And one of the biggest whiners in the last 48 hours has been Tony La Russa, who is in turn throwing his own player under the bus, as we've talked about here. He keeps insisting he didn't lose the locker room. If I'm anybody on the White Sox, my thought is, well, what's going to happen if I get involved in a play that might be, iffy to some people? What's going to happen? Is Tony going to have my back? Is my manager going to have my back? The White Sox are one of the most intriguing teams from the standpoint of they have some really good young talent. They have some guys that are fun to watch. This is a team that if you're trying to turn someone on to the game of baseball, you put on the TV and you say, oh, the White Sox are playing good. Watch this. This is a team you want to watch. But they have this old sack of bones manager standing in their dugout, gnawing on Copenhagen, and he's going to be the guy who's crapping on these young players, bringing intensity to the game. This is a divisional game, too. You want to beat the crap out of your divisional opponents. You want to say, hey, last time we beat them 16-4, whatever the final score ended up being. You want to beat them so bad they have a position player playing and staying on the mound. What are you supposed to do if you're Mercedes? You supposed to try to hit a pop fly? Are you supposed to not try? Yeah, it's 3-0. Yeah, it's universal you would take a pitch there. But if you see a good pitch, who cares? Who cares if you're swinging for the fences? This isn't me at my Make-A-Wish when I was 13, okay? We're not going to go in there and not try because we have a position player on the mound. No. You're going to go in there, you're going to beat the crap out of your divisional opponent, and you're going to make them hate you come tomorrow, so much so that if you do it again, now you're just completely in their head. I don't understand why La Russa is not backing up his players. And as I said before, any other player on that 40-man roster right now, I'm worried if my manager has my back or not, if I'm in a similar situation.
So yeah, just to piggyback on what Nick said. Yeah, like Nick said, La Russa says time and time again, he hasn't lost the locker room. But, players are coming out and saying, oh, I disagree with him. I disagree with my manager. Okay, some more statistics here for you. La Russa called Mercedes clueless. This was just an article that
pulling
was
out the fact
by ESPN.
book.
Yeah, so 3-0 pitch. Okay, the pitcher, the position player that was pitching, Williams Astudillo, the walking meme of Major League Baseball. Look, yeah, he's a good player, but he's pitching. I mean, yeah, he's kind of like Bartolo Colon almost. That's what he reminds me of. It's 16-4. He's pitching, 3-0 count, 47 mile per hour not even a fastball, 47 mile per hour pitch to Mercedes there in that situation. Just golf it out. There's no problem in doing that, especially with the position player on the mound.
Shout out to his upper body strength for mustering that one out of the park.
Oh, yeah. That's not easy.
Unsung hero.
Well, and that guys are always trying to hit home runs off of position players when they're pitching on the mound because it just makes them feel a lot better when they actually do get a hit off of them. But yeah, it's 15-4, and like I said earlier, Yermin Mercedes is not a guy that's been around the league for like 20 years. He's had to literally climb up through the minors to get to where he is, and he's finally, getting recognition, playing more than his catcher that they signed for 4 or 5 years, Yasmani Grandal. So, yeah, it's just troubling to see a coach or a manager of that matter do that. I mean, but also you don't put something like that past Tony La Russa. I mean, it's Tony La Russa. The dude literally is one of the head cases of managers in Major League Baseball. Probably shouldn't be a manager right now because he's 98. So, there's no reason he should be. He's been 98 since 2006. I don't know how he's not, out of baseball by now. But
also, I mean, he's done basically everything in the game. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
he's a Hall of Famer. So what more? I don't really know the reason why he decided to come back now, because he's already done everything that he, I guess you want to say, can do or has to do in the game. So for him to come back now this year and manage this team and act the way that he has acted is just ridiculous.
And do you guys think that La Russa's gone after the season, or maybe even before the season's over, even though the team's at first?
No, I don't think they'll get rid of him. How long? Do we know how long his contract is?
Probably 2 years.
At this point, anything over a year is a lifetime deal. So
that's true.
No offense to Tony La Russa.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, that is the Tony La Russa debacle. But now we're going to move on to something that, we'll call back on an article written by one Nick Herrick, and we'll start it over here with him. Albert Pujols signs with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Goes up ice or whatever the interstate is in California to Dodger Stadium and has to sit through 3 hours of traffic and then finally gets there. Nick, what are you thinking about this? Where did this come from?
Gallo, if you broke into my house and held me at gunpoint and said, put your life savings on Pujols signing with an NL team that's not the Cardinals, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would be on my floor bleeding out right now. I didn't see this coming, especially with a guy like Max Muncy at first base. There's no ability for them to DH, obviously, in the National League unless they know something we don't, because Pujols said he doesn't see himself retiring after this year. So maybe the Dodgers have it in, and they know the DH is going to be made universal at the end of the year or something. I don't know. But to use an analogy in its proper term, this came out of left field. As we talked about before, as I wrote about, I would have loved to have seen him maybe be a mentor on one of these AL teams that's not so good. A team with the potential, the pieces to be good soon, like a team like the Blue Jays. That's the team I really want him to go to. And then as Gallo pointed out to me, because I couldn't think of the closeness and proximity to Kansas City and St. Louis, Kansas City would have been a fun spot for him to go, close to St. Louis, but he has the benefit of being first baseman or DH. So two opportunities for him to kind of get flipped back and forth whenever someone needed a rest, as opposed to one. But I didn't see it coming. I think it's a nice fit. Maybe he'll get another ring out of this. But it's definitely interesting. Maybe he didn't want to move, and he said, "Hey, Dodgers, I'm already in LA. What are the odds we keep me here?" And they said, we could figure it out for you, Albert. But it's a fun fit. It's going to be weird to see him in that jersey for a little bit, but I'm glad that he at least now has the opportunity to go out on his own terms, whatever those may be when the time comes.
Yeah, I was puzzled as well. I didn't really know where this came from. When I saw the notification, I was like, "What? Like, are we serious here?"
I was at work. I was at work because it was like Saturday night that rumor started, I think. And me and Gallo talked about it before I went to work, and then I wasn't allowed to check my phone. I worked at a sporting event, and it was like 5 hours, so they're like, take a 5-minute break, stay off your phone as much as you can. That's way too much into my life that no one asked for. But I pull out my phone, and I was scrolling through to see if there's anything urgent. I see all caps, I almost said Gallo to the Dodgers. Maybe one day. I see all caps, Pujols to the Dodgers, ? From Gallo. And I said, oh, my God. Go ahead, Ethan. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine, Nick. Thank you for that little life story right there.
We got to show our personality here
of Stranded Sports employees. The CEO, Nick Hepnerick. But, yeah, I mean, I was puzzled like all of you guys were. But, he wants to win. Go to the Dodgers, go to a World Series team. They're going to compete. Yeah, they're in a rough stretch right now, but they're definitely going to be back into the playoffs. No doubt in my mind. But, I mean, look, he didn't put up the good numbers that everyone was hoping for with the Angels. So Angels fans are kind of pissed off that he's leaving now and says, I'm going elsewhere. I want released and stuff like that. But I mean, for him now, you just gotta log some at bats. I mean, he's still decent off of left-handed pitching. So
still one of the slowest guys in baseball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're still gonna log jam the base pass with him on there. But if he could get 2 at bats here and there, especially like against left-handed pitching, like, I mean, what Dodgers faced Mad Bum on Monday night. I mean, just an at bat here, an at bat there, and just keep him incorporated in the lineup. I mean, that's really all he wants now, and especially playing with the winning organization, because we know the Angels weren't going to win anything because they haven't for years. They have Trout and they have Ohtani now. They're still not going to win. So,
wasting 2 of the best players in baseball.
Exactly. So, I mean, for him to get out of that nutcase of an organization, if I want to go that far, good for him. I'm rooting for you, Albert. Finish strong. If you want to retire this year, go right ahead. But I'm not the boss of you, so do whatever you want. But congrats for him for signing with a contender, and we'll see how this one plays out.
Right, and as someone that I've always been I've always had some disdain for Pujols for 2006, but I've always respected how great of a player he's been in his career, and just how scary it was seeing when he'd step in, and you'd think, oh my God, he's gonna hit a home run like every single time. Like there's few players in MLB history where you'd say that about, like especially during his era, like Ortiz, A-Rod, Pujols, like a couple of those guys, Barry Bonds. But he's one of those guys that, and I wish him the best of luck in LA. So it's a weird fit, but it'll work. It'll work. All right, so let's talk about another thing that's pretty troubling in Major League Baseball, and that is the amount of players on the injured list right now. There is over 400 players currently on the injured list, which is about more than double there was this time last year. So, and Mike Trout's one of them. He just went on for a long time. That's a big loss. Kevin Pillar's got hit in the face for the Mets. I don't know if you guys saw that. But
yeah,
that
can we sidebar on that for a second?
Yeah, talk about it, of course.
I saw a TikTok. I can't believe we're going here.
Oh yes, no!
Ethan sent me this TikTok.
I think I sent both. I might have sent both of you the TikTok. I don't know about Gallo, but I know I sent Nick it. I
can't say you did.
I don't think I did. But here, so yeah, we see Pilar. He said, "Oh, graphic, don't watch." But here, Kevin Pillar is going to get hit in the face. So I'm like, okay. So I watch it. He gets hit in the face. It's brutal. You don't want to see that in baseball at all. But he goes on and says, the MLB needs to change. They need to change. The spin rate's too high. We need to change. What else? Velocity's too high. This needs to change. And first
Bro,
off,
it's not that deep. He literally just lost control of a fastball. It happens.
Exactly. Shit happens. Okay.
Well, I think they should take the MLW wiffle ball route and invoke a speed limit on pitching. There is no place for fast pitching in the MLB.
Well, you got to feel for
when there's inferior infielders pitching for the Minnesota Twins sometimes.
Yeah.
Look,
so
sarcasm.
So I'm not. I mean, like I said before, you don't want to see guys get hit in the face. We saw Bryce Harper get hit in the face, and now Pilar. Look, it's scary. It could be life altering. I get that. But for someone to come out and say, "Oh, this spin rate and pitch speeds, they need to change." Look, the game's evolved. The game has evolved. There's technology now that you can use to figure out your spin rate, to hone your craft. Look, all the ball did was get away from the pitcher. Nothing else happened there. No foul play was involved. This guy is just completely whack. I mean, that's all I really have for it. The game's evolved. Nothing really needs to change here. But, I mean, look, he says, oh, pitchers don't have control anymore. Pitchers have control. Major League pitchers have control. This would be happening every night if pitchers did not have control.
And as I told you, this is no different from a ball that you accidentally plow into the dirt or a breaking ball that carries and doesn't break. It's a freak thing. This time it just happened to hit someone in the face. You don't need to go, let's change everything because of one incident. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's going to be brutal for him to come back from. And, we saw his face yesterday. It obviously didn't look too good, but he's
in good spirits.
He's laughing about, I'm sure not about it, but he's laughing. He was out and about yesterday with his teammates. So
yeah, he said he was good. Yeah.
If anything needs to change with, people getting smacked in the head with balls, it's do something to protect the pitchers.
Right, and
comebackers.
It's surprising that Pilar actually, because he's been hit in the face before, that he wasn't wearing a face guard. But I watched it live, as you may know, and you got to feel for Jacob Webb, who's a guy that I think came up last year or the year before, and he was visibly shaken. But Pilar went in and consoled him, talked to him, texted him, which is great to see. And then Pilar out there just jawing with teammates and partying around. It's just different mindset from Pilar there. I would literally probably still been in the hospital bed, but Pilar's out there with his teammates. But nothing you can really do about it. Sometimes pitches get away, like we saw Mike Fiers hit Giancarlo Stanton in the face a couple years ago. Really nothing you can do, and that's all I can say. But we'll harken back to the injury things, guys. What do you think the reason is for all these injuries? I'm thinking it's because they had to ramp up so fast last year, and then they had a year off, and then they're just stopping and starting on all this.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know anything about how taxing it is to be a professional athlete. So I don't want to sit here and sound stupid as for the reason why all these injuries could be happening. But it is unfortunate that they're happening. Believe it or not, I don't like seeing people get injured. But it's very odd. I just wonder if it's like a training thing or what, because we saw NFL injuries going up. We saw some mainstays like Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, Dak all get hurt last year numerous times, some season-ending injuries there. But it's one of those things I think they're going to happen. I think another thing you could even attribute it to, and this might be the thing that people go, okay, this kid doesn't know what he's talking about with injuries. But with the weather changing the way it has been, cold climate, warm climate stuff, that's probably affecting muscles and stuff. That's just a layman's guess. But that's my best guess as to what it could be. That and just now they're playing 162 games again after they literally started over the halfway point of what would be a normal season last year.
Right, and I'm going to link it to the Mets right now, who have 13 players on the injured list, and a lot of it is soft tissue injuries like tightness and hamstring.
That's what makes me say, the different climates with the air and stuff.
Right, are these guys just not hydrating well enough, or it's just like, I don't know what's going on.
I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to sit there and speculate too much, but that's my guess.
I mean, I'm more in the camp of it's going from 60 to 162 now. Yeah, you guys are full spring training in this year, but I still think it's taxing on guys to go from what they were at 60 going from 60 last season to now 162, and you're back to like a full schedule, full slate. You're starting in April, going throughout now through October, and you're in May now. Look, already over a quarter of this, like we're like over at the halfway point of where we would have been last season. So I mean, I think that's more of where guys are now going down with injuries now. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, like Nick said, also the weather could be a factor. But once again, I'm not going to speculate.
Right. All right. So, and yeah, it's going to be weird to see how it unfolds over the rest of the season, especially with how ramped up it's been. Last night, just want to mention this: Spencer Turnbull threw a no-hitter for the Tigers against the Mariners.
Doesn't count against the Mariners.
Yeah.
I love the Mariners, too. They're a team I want to be good.
5 no-hitters at this point in the season.
First
it's
time
because of those damn pitchers that don't have control, Gallo. They're throwing the ball too hard.
First time since June of 1917 that there have been 5 no-hitters.
So good performance for Spencer Turnbull. Did he play for the Erie Seawolves, Nick?
He did. There's a lot of Erie media shouting him out, saying former Seawolf gets no hitter. So they always like clinging on to that one.
Well, that is the one thing that stuck out to me over the last week. If there's anything else that you guys wanted to talk about, now is the time.
I have a question for you two, just because I want to hear your thoughts on it. I have my own. I saw a few people saying the influx in no-hitters is because batters are trying now to keep a high exit velocity, so they've changed and morphed their swings into swing types that will result in faster exit velocities. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that. I think it's a load of bull.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's because they changed the balls. One part is because they changed the balls back to normal, and not the video game juiced balls that they had of the past years. But also, I mean, pitchers are getting a lot better. I mean, there's pitchers that are throwing harder, throwing with more, and it's becoming more of a breaking ball league. And when you can't hit the breaking ball, which a lot of these guys are sitting fastball, that's going to happen. And when you're predominantly, like when you throw a really good breaking ball, you're going to use that to your advantage. Like John Means, who threw a no-hitter the other week, has an insane curveball, has an insane change up too, obviously. But when you're throwing pitches like these, it's going to be hard to hit.
I'm going to go back to it again. The spin rate and the amount of technology. I'm going to be a nerd again.
It's all that damn pine tar they're hiding in their gloves.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, look. So if you're Wade Miley, and you're a Reds fan, there's no chance in hell he throws a no-hitter like if he was with the team, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. Not a chance. Look, it's all about the new technology. That's what I'm sticking at. I don't think the exit velocity shit, it's a load of bull.
The analytical revolution is certainly taking shape as we speak. But as we will look at the MLB schedule for now, right now the Twins are up 1-0 in the top of the 5th over the White Sox, and then tonight we've got a pretty full slate of games. Tonight we've got a lot of rivalry games, a lot of in-division games tonight. Rockies Padres at 4:10, Giants Reds, which is not an in-division game, but Marlins and Phillies is at 7:05, Rays and Orioles as well. Mets and Braves tonight at 7:20. Red Sox and Blue Jays at 7:30. Nats Cubs 7:40. Pirates and Cardinals at 7:45. Yankees and Rangers at 8:05. And then there's a couple more tonight. Brewers Royals, Indians Angels, Astros Athletics, Diamondbacks Dodgers, and Tigers and Mariners. Will we see back-to-back no-hitters? That hasn't happened in a long time, and it probably won't happen either. But yeah, so that is tonight's games, and they will probably be done by this game by the time this episode is up, as Nick has just let me know. But yeah, that is all we have. Once again, we would like to thank Jolly Olive for coming on the show today, as well as you guys for joining me on this edition of Stranded at Second. If you have anything else you want to say now is your time.
Just a big thank you to Jolly Olive, our first guest in a while. Hoping to get some more lined up soon, but now that the world's getting back to normal, people don't want to talk to college-aged podcasters as much. But we definitely appreciate Jolly Olive for coming on and look forward to sharing more stories in the future.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for joining me today. Joining us as well on Stranded at Second. We'll see you next time or next week.